G'day, Bomber fans. We have got more trade news. We have some defenders in contact with other clubs. We've got Mason Redman being talked about. That's big. We have Mr. Zach Merrett, the most talked about man in the business. The Bombers are a busy club. We're not in finals. We're not playing a prelim, but we are probably the most talked about team in the AFL, not for good reasons. So let's get into it. Mason Redman. So this is interesting. It's very early in this one. We don't know how much weight this story has to it, if any. So far, we've got news from Sam Edmund and Tom Morris. Let's start with Sam Edmund because that came first. This all played out today, by the way, this morning. So Sam Edmund stated that Redman's manager, Ben Williams, had raised Redman's name in a meeting with another club as a way to unlock a potential trade. This obviously interesting timing after Redman's pretty public comments about Merrett the other week. Now, it should be said, Sam Edmund did say that he was not sure if Redman was even aware of this meeting or his name being raised, which goes to show how little weight this particular bit of news could have. It might just be a completely nothing story, but you've got headlines, of course, because it's footy media. You do also have Tom Morris coming out a few minutes after this was all made public and saying that Redman was frustrated earlier this year and that clubs were made aware of that. At least 3 clubs, Port Adelaide and Adelaide included, but his value had decreased and the market for him seemed less than it could have been. Now, these stories have all played out in the past. So Morris's news about Redman's frustration and weighing up a trade request, that was from early in 2025. The Sam Edmund story about his management raising Redman's name was a fortnight ago. Since then, we've got more news that kind of goes against what the headlines are saying. So Edmund has spoken to Ben Williams, Redman's manager, who said that Redman is committed to staying at Essendon. That was yesterday. So yesterday, Redman's manager said that Redman is committed to the Bombers. That lines up with Redman's words that he put forward to Zach Merrett just less than a week ago. So the way I see this, I mean, it's interesting. It's a headline, sure. It could also be nothing, though. Like, it is so early in this, it might just fade away. Redman might come out and say he's staying at Essendon. He probably doesn't even need to, given the fact his manager has said the same yesterday. He said what he said about Zach Merrett. I mean, obviously, it's news because of what's happened in the past few weeks. You're going to see headlines about the Essendon exodus. Redman will be involved in that now. But Laverde's involved in that now. The media just want to hype these things up that may not be there. So maybe Redman is frustrated and wants to leave. That is definitely possible. We can't just discount that. But the way I see it, his manager said he's committed to staying yesterday. Redman obviously went out of his way to criticise Merrett for wanting to leave. I think Redman's staying, and I'd be surprised if he was to backflip and seek a move, and it would obviously be very disappointing. But, if we're going to believe what Edmund said about the meeting and what Morris said earlier in the year, I think we also have to believe what Edmund said about Redman's manager saying he's committed, and obviously believe Redman about his words against Merrett. So, yeah, the way I see it, I think Redman's committed. I think this is just a headline, and people are kind of missing what else has been said in this story. Yes, Redman was probably frustrated earlier in the year. I think every Essendon player was frustrated early in the year. He's got invites to the Best and Fairest coming up. I don't know if he's going to be at the Brownlow, so he's got opportunities to put this to bed if he wants. I don't even know if he needs to, though. Zach Merrett. This is now a massive week in this saga. So probably I'd say the most important week aside from the trade period. So Merrett is expected to make a public appearance at the Brownlow Medal night next Monday, sitting on the Essendon table alongside teammates that publicly criticised him, teammates that he betrayed a bit. Cameras are going to be on him. He'll be asked questions. Even if he shares a glance with Sam Mitchell, it will be picked up. But there is going to be a lot going on before this, I reckon, because Merrett will want this story, or I guess both clubs, to lean one way to make this as nice as possible, which is difficult given how ugly it already is. There are going to be more leaks, I'd say. We've got the Merrett meeting Mitchell story. That's obviously not good. You've got reports that he was considering boycotting the Essendon Best and Fairest. You've got reports that he may hand in his captaincy in the next few weeks. He is going all out to get this move. It is pretty shocking. No one could have expected it. Now, the club are adamant publicly that he will be staying put. They're not going to be trading him. That is a great way to drive up his trade value, but I think everyone knows that if Hawthorn came to the table with a good deal, it'll get done. The question is, will Hawthorn come to the table with a good deal? They've taken Merrett on this journey. I'm guessing they're confident in getting this done, confident enough for Merrett to blow up his public image for. So the onus is now on them to give the Bombers enough to satisfy a trade. But when you've got pick 8, future first, which will be late in the draft, and not a lot else, it's tough to see how they can do this on their own. I think everyone kind of realises that they need help from other clubs to get this done. And just on Merrett's trade value, so last year Hawthorn gave up a first, second, and third rounder for Tom Barrass, a player who is the same age as Merrett, but has never never been All-Australian, never been captain, never played a full season. So pick 8 just isn't going to cut it. The Hawks are tough to negotiate with. They're going to lowball to start, but the Bombers do have the bargaining power to give Merrett, or given Merrett's contracted for another 2 years. There are no guarantees this gets done. The Bombers will not part ways with a player that good for unders. Hawthorn do have to come to the table here. Jordan Ridley, so a bit here since the last time we spoke. He has supposedly met with the Brisbane Lions, which is in line with reports a few weeks ago that he was considering a trade request up north. Ridley wants to get his body right. Brisbane are a good club for that. He also has family up there as well now. So Ridley is contracted for another 4 years. The club has a new high-performance team coming in, a really highly rated one. I'm going to talk about that in a future video. Dave Byram came out and said that Ridley won't be traded away. Brad Scott said the same. Andy McGrath came out and said that he thinks Ridley will be in the red and black next year, and those two are good mates and business partners. So yeah, you got Ridley potentially wanting a fresh start, a better run with his body. The club are firm that he is staying, and that stance will almost definitely harden if Merrett was to leave. The difference between those two stories, Ridley and Merrett, is just how quiet this one is. Ridley so far has gone about this in a more respectful way given his position at the club. There is clearly room for him to return if a trade isn't made, and that is why the club are so firm on him staying. At this stage, it looks like he probably will be held to his contract, but we would have said the same about Merrett a couple of weeks ago as well. So you never know, but yeah, Ridley is yet to formally request a trade or anything away from the club. It looks like he's probably staying. Jayden Laverde has had a medical with the GWS Giants, and it's now expected that he ends up there during the supplemental selection period. This means he won't be traded. He will technically be delisted, and then in the same vein as Jackson Pryor would join the club after the draft when list spots are finalised. And this means it doesn't mess with either club's compensation for other players. It means that the Giants can bring more players across in the national draft through list spots and even rookie Jayden Laverde. It also means Essendon probably don't want to keep him. Like, we're yet to offer him a contract extension. There hasn't been much of a fuss kicked up about this. It seems like Laverde will join Jake Stringer at GWS as key defensive depth, and if he does join as an SSP signing, the Bombers will not get anything back for it. To be fair, I think that's probably expected. Like, there's a chance he's delisted even if he doesn't go to the Giants. His value's kind of gone now. If Jake Stringer was a pick in the 50s, I don't know how you could possibly trade for Jayden Laverde. So yeah, he's pretty likely not to be with the club next year. The good news is he gets a lifeline, I think, because I do think he deserves it. You know, he's a tough bloke, tough player. Hopefully he does well up at GWS. No hard feelings in this one. Now, we have news on 4 players. These guys at some stage have been talked about as potential trade options for other clubs. So Kyle Langford and Darcy Parish, they are apparently staying put. There were some talks about both exploring trades earlier this year. Mitch Cleary raised Langford's name on national television, but both are trying to get their bodies right, and it's now believed they will be with the club in 2026 and not seeking moves away like initially thought. That is John Ralph reporting that. Elijah Sardis, I think this one is mainly due to the lack of interest out there. So I think Sam McClure did report that North Melbourne were keen. I don't really believe anything Sam McClure says, but I would see no reason why Sardis wouldn't look away. The club has said they're committed to him. As of right now, it looks like there won't be anything out there that makes the Bombers think twice about that. Obviously, that could change. A good offer could change things, but as of right now, he is staying. And Lockie Blackiston. So there were some rumours that a Perth-based club were thinking or trying to lure him across, given the fact he was out of contract, and maybe it's a bit of baloney. I don't know how much truth there is in this one. It hasn't really been discussed much. He's a lower profile player. But either way, he's signed on and will be with the Bombers next year. So those 4 players who many thought were gettable or being discussed about in trades are staying with the club. And finally, Henry Hustwaite. So this one's interesting because the Bombers are keen on Hustwaite separate to the Merrett trade. So there is a world where the Bombers pick up Henry Hustwaite but don't lose Zach Merrett. Many believe Hustwaite's name is just being raised in these trade conversations because of the Merrett news, but Cal Toomey reported that Essendon have interest in Hustwaite. He just finished 5th in the JJ Liston Trophy, which is the VFL Brownlow medal. He's been stuck in the VFL since being drafted by the Hawks. He's only played 10 games. I liked him a lot in his draft year. I've got some Hawthorn friends and I hyped him up a lot to them. I thought this was a great pickup for the Hawks at the time. I thought that at day one. He hasn't got it going at Hawthorn. It's tough to know just what he's going to be in the next few years. And the good news is, for that reason, he'd be very cheap. So there's not much value at all there for a late 30 pick who's played 10 games. In fact, you'd rather this deal done separately from the Merrett one for that reason, because he could just be a cheap pickup. But yeah, the Bombers are keen. It'll be tough to get done given the animosity between these two clubs at the moment. Both are pretty difficult to deal with. Just on Hustwaite and Hawthorn, they'll probably need to offer up a player to convince the Bombers to trade Merrett away. Whether Hustwaite is part of that deal or not, I mean, I doubt the Bombers would be happy with him in a first rounder. I think there is a lot more that'll go into it than just Henry Hustwaite and first rounders. But given the fact that the Bombers were keen before this Merrett story came about, and the Hawks will need to convince Essendon for a trade, it wouldn't surprise me to see this guy's name pop up a lot more in the coming weeks. But that is that. Trade update, a weird trade update, some bits and bobs here. You got concrete news, you got nothing news. There is lots going on. I'm sure I'll have a lot more out in the next few days. We are being talked about too much right now. I don't like it. Let's talk finals. Let's get the AFL thinking about something else. But cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and go Bombers.